Thank you for coming to us. And really, today it is Alex from AstraZeneca. I know that half of audience firstly triggered with this name of the company. But my task today to show that data scientist, this is not boring and not so smart, too smart profession. This is people really, really inspiring, amazing, and to create, and people who create values and really incredible businesses. And Alex Turpin here, and really welcome. Some kind of applaudissement. Really, we need to start. Do you know why we need to have applaudissement in the start to warm up? Yeah. And really, all of us, we are here. And one more time, thank you for my lovely students, my friend from Russia, from my universities, and from everywhere, and Russian community, data scientists, and technical guys here, and not Russians as well. And really, thank you for coming. And really, you have, Alex, incredible, fantastic career. And from physics, and what touched me really from venture capitalist fund and really neurobiology, etc. And right now you lead one of the biggest corporations. You are youngest director in data science in Europe.
No, I don't think so. So the way also the data science world, they have many titles, right?
Yeah.
So we are here in Barcelona. There is a let's say an AI and data science hub right now.
Okay.
That started like a couple of years ago in AstraZeneca. So we have plenty of very brilliant people and also lots of young colleagues as well. Have to say.
But really, you have incredible results. And let's start from the beginning, really. And we had very good conversation. Yeah. Why did you choose this profession, like a data science, really, when nobody wanted to go to physics or mathematics, etc.? Tell us some story how it started, all of this stuff.
Well, so in my case, what happens is that in the way in Spain things work, when you want to go to university, you have to pre-select some degrees, right, prior to finishing your high school. And I don't know why I always wanted to be a telecommunications engineer. I think we spoke about this last time. I always wanted to be a telecommunications engineer. My father had a friend whose son was a telecom engineer, and I was like always super proud of him because he was funny, but at the same time he seemed smart, and I knew he was earning good money. So I always wanted to be a telecom engineer, but when the moment of selecting the degrees came, I knew that that wasn't enough because I'm a person who wants the answers to all the questions that I have. I want to understand the world, and telecoms engineer wouldn't get me that. So I decided to go into physics, which is a thing that not many people did at that time. And when I told my parents, it was like, what a waste of talent. It was like, you should be like aerospace engineer and you decide to be a physicist. And I would never regret what I studied, to be honest. But in my time, studying physics wasn't that was in the 2005 or 6. That wasn't the greatest career. It was for, I don't know, for people that would become then professors or teachers in high school. But I started with it. It was much harder than I thought, I have to say at the beginning, but it was absolutely fun. So studying physics to me, and it's a thing that I do also for fun. I keep reading, I keep on with the news, I keep reading even research papers. So it's a thing that I do really like, right? But and the best thing that I learned, and something that people told me when we were onboarding into physics, is that you can't go into the newspapers. At that time it was newspapers where they were putting the job offers, so that's very long ago. And you don't go to the newspapers and someone tells you, we are looking for a physicist. They say engineers, electricians, or whatsoever, right? But the physicist can do absolutely everything. So once you get that degree done, you feel absolutely powerful. You feel that you can do anything you want in your life. And that's something that was very striking. And I have friends who went into nuclear physics, other went into study or get a PhD in medicine, other wants to do like aerospace engineer later. So we are very varied, and that's the best thing of physics. It shapes you, it shapes your brain in a way that you basically can do whatever you want, because it's really tough. I have to say, it's absolutely tough. So I started there, and then I didn't know what to do. Once I was finishing, I didn't know if I go to industry, what do I do as a physicist, because there is no job for me. It was like, where do I go? No, at that time, data science wasn't for sure a thing, that didn't existed.
Yeah.
Mathematicians used to do some statistics for banks or for insurance companies, but it wasn't a thing, right? So, well, I decided to do a PhD, and from there, I kept evolving.
Yeah. So interesting about these pivots from one area to another really, and always our career. This is kind of journey, and you always open something new about yourself. You can start from, I'm not sure, developer in cybersecurity, something, and this is Tommy, for example, his story. And in one moment you can recognize that maybe you have other interests. And I know that it was in your life as well, when you recognize other your superpowers. And when we talk about data science, what kind of competences are really important in this profession, and what you recognize and understand about yourself?
So I'd say that curiosity is the number one. So data science, if I explain a little bit, I was thinking how the world evolved into data science, because it's very interesting, right? So data science didn't existed because it wasn't a need, because we didn't have data structured, right? And with internet, data was like the new commodity. So I have your information, I have information about everyone, but what do we do with data? And leaders wanted to know what to do with this data, and then the figure of a person who was able to get the data, understand it, and create some sort of story around it was born. And these are data analysts, data scientists, right? But then from there it was the need of, okay, now I understand where we are, but I want to know where we're going, where we're facing. And then data science evolved into, now I want to incorporate some AI, some machine learning, so I can also do predictions. And it was about, okay, let's create some predictive models with the data we have so we can have better outcomes. So that was like data science phase 2. You know, if you like Dragon Ball or something, it was like Super Saiyan 2 of the data science.
Understanding, okay.
And then what is happening now, I believe, is that having insights and predictions is not enough, right? So leaders and corporations want you to be able to own the end-to-end and to create a product. So the typical figure of the data scientist who was able to handle data and create predictions is changing towards someone who is able to handle data, create predictions, and offer you a product that you will consume. That there was an intermediate step where we had dashboards, and dashboards became like everywhere. Everyone had a dashboard and everyone wanted a dashboard. But that wasn't enough. I don't think it's enough anymore. So data scientists now, if just handling data, I don't believe it's enough. Now we are having layers of, you need to know AI, you need to know additional tech stacks so you can create products from scratch. And I had a very controversial post on LinkedIn about this, since that data scientists are dead. I was obviously being a little bit sarcastic, but the idea is that you need to reinvent yourself as the field evolves, and data science is no exception. So now that's changing, and I believe I'm following a similar path in my life. You asked me why I went into data science. So in my case, I went into studying living animals. So I moved from physics to neuroscience, and I was trying to understand how a fruit fly understands how its world is and how to navigate the world and integrate all this information into the brain. Basically, we can put visual stimuli into the fly, we can look into the neural activity, we can look into the reaction and how it moves and tries to fly. And integrating all that information was very interesting for me. But how you do that, it's a high volume of data, and it's a very complex volume type of data. So I got engaged with machine learning and data science, because these were, in 2015 or so, these were the techniques that were starting to emerge as giving you the ability to handle such a data set. So I got engaged with that, and then I moved into, okay, now I know how to understand complex data with this, now I want to create something out of it. And that's how I kept evolving and evolving. Now I'm in a phase where I'm more interested in how we can make sure that we get the most out of AI and data in a safe way. That's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, it was also one of the questions from Tommy, it would be. And tell me, please, something about your personality. When we are data scientists, okay, not I am, but really, okay, data scientists, usually people about systems, math analysis, blah, 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 and some kind of technical engineering, etc. But one moment you received to change something. You recognize that, for example, you are the best in communication, or maybe you can create new ideas together with other people. And really, this is other way. And we talked today about Sheldon Cooper phenomenon, or something like this. When data scientists, we usually expect that really this very serious, etc. people, but sometimes it's not true. And in your case, like this, maybe your career development more about, I'm not sure, other superpowers, not only technical, not only analysis. What do you think?
In my case, that's exactly the case. So I guess that in the world there has to be space for everyone. And I am a very curious person. I'm also very empathetic, and I like people, of course. And when I was studying, I was like top level, but not the best of the best. So I wasn't the top 2 of my university, maybe the top 5. Because the top 2 were just driven by research or math.
Sheldon Cooper life.
It was that type of, right? Absolutely that type of. And one thing that I realized very quickly in my life is that I have something that in the scientific community doesn't exist that frequently, which is the ability to connect with others. Don't ask me why, but it's not that common, right? I guess it's what you were saying. People that are generally tempted to go into abstract places, they are very introvert because it's in your mind and you're picturing everything in your mind and in your brain, and you're using your brain to answer your own questions and so forth, and your brain is very powerful, right? But I realized that if you are not able to communicate those thoughts, they are worth very little. And you can see the best, in my case, the best scientists in the world, they are very good at communicating. If some of you know Richard Feynman, I hope you do, and if not, you just go and read his books that he has 4 or 5 for plain people like us. He was amazing. So he got the one who started this idea of if you can explain something to your grandma or to a 5-year-old, then you don't know the topic. It was him who started that. So I think that the very, very best are very good at communicating, and they can go very, very deep. I decided at some point that I can go very, very deep, but for the type of skills that I have, I can have much more leverage. But for instance, being a leader. So having my own team and making them high perform in a way that they enjoy their life and they deliver great value, and motivating them and getting them to work. So I have other skills that help me a lot, right? And I don't think there is good or bad. You can be an extremely technical person, a very good technical leader, or you don't need to be a leader. You can be executing very well. You don't need to be open and speaking so much. But nowadays, if you see where the world's going, the ones who don't have some projection to the outside world, we like it or not, they don't exist. If you don't have presence, either in social media, or if you are not able to talk, to communicate, or eventually if you are interviewed for whatever reason, for instance, this case, if you are not able to explain, you basically don't add value to others in that way. So in my case, I discovered that through the path. I wasn't aware. And then what data science brought, I think that it was the opposite. Data science brought structure into my thinking, you know? And that helped me a lot.
Yeah, okay. Let's jump to the next level. Really, tell me about your current position right now in famous AstraZeneca, etc. What kind of project are you doing right now? And core question about young generation, how young specialists can be implemented on this, participate in this activity. Yeah,
sure.
It's really important.
So AstraZeneca, as any large corporation, you're gonna have AI or data science embedded in different ways, right? We are fortunate that I'd say that we are potentially the most advanced and innovative pharma. I'm quite convinced we are. And that reflects in all the departments we have. So then you have data science and AI, but practically in everywhere. And the way we distribute is we have R&D, which are the ones who design the drugs and develop the vaccines. And we have R&D biopharmaceuticals. We have R&D, different units that I don't remember right now, but basically the ones who do the science. But then we have a huge team, which is IT. And within IT, we have our own kind of consulting firm who are the ones who develop internal products for us. And then, for instance, in my case, I'm in the commercial department, so I don't do anything related to R&D or technology per se. So I'm in the part that is interfacing with the clinicians, are the ones who are basically talking to them and explaining them the value of our drugs. And within that team, we do a lot of digital health products. So digital health means the typical news that you can see that there is an AI that can detect brain cancer better than any clinician, right? So these type of technologies are the ones that we are supporting leveraging. So if you think of all these different functions, data science and AI, it's gonna play a role in very different ways, right? When we think, for instance, of IT, what they do is a lot of deployment. So they have people who are very good at taking already existing technologies, or platforms, data lakes, and they create products that are ingested either internally in the company or externally. So that's a type of work. Another type of work is, I was saying, R&D. And in R&D, they go into the forefront of the field. So they go into the unknown, where anyone has gone, and they basically do research like what you would do in a university, but then it has an application directly into the business, of course. Yeah. Then you have people who are building products to support other functions. For instance, we have our sales representatives. So we have built technologies to help them communicate better what they're doing and to help them engage better with the clinicians. Or we have even internally built our own AZ ChatGPT. So we have all these functions, and now you can think how you want to contribute into a given problem. Do you want to be a builder? Do you want to be more of a deep thinker? Do you want to be a person who is closer to a direct product that you can touch? And you will find positions or type of work in everywhere. And the way we have AstraZeneca, you can think of any other company. I was yesterday in a webinar that we were hosting with Mondelez. You might have never heard about this firm, Mondelez, but you have eaten absolutely all their products. We are talking about Chips Ahoy, Lou, about Maltesers, all of them. They own like 70 different brands. And the problems they have and the type of work they do, it's exactly the same we do at the end of the day. It was very interesting. So at the end of the day, you have all these things. And then you can also choose based on your own curiosity. There are startups where I've been working in startups for a while. And you can also go there and you are very problem driven. So the startup has a value, has a problem they want to solve and add value into the world. So you help them deliver that, right? Yeah. Or you can decide and go even into a newspaper, to put an example, and you help them how you can ingest news in a better way, or go against any type of mass or badly dissemination of news, right? Fake news. So it plays a role absolutely everywhere, and it's for you to choose what you enjoy in this moment of your career, and how do you see your own self-evolving.
Okay, and tell me something like certain about programs. Usually huge corporations, they have long-term strategy in human resources management. It is what was my first profession in Sberbank, and really biggest bank in Russia. And really this is part of our strategy always to be sustainable. And for example, when we are growing faster and changing any kind of technology, we should be ready for this. And do you know usually some programs in AstraZeneca for young scientists, young specialists, and do you have your own criteria maybe for choosing this kind of people, like young blood in your team or something?
So what I know, because I've been in AstraZeneca for a year or so, and what I know is that we have, for instance, a graduate program. And this graduate program, it's super interesting, because if I'm not mistaken, you can basically take a few months in one site, or a few months in another site, because AstraZeneca it's a global company, or in different departments. So you get to know different areas of the business, and then you have the opportunity to stay or not. It really depends now on the case. But basically, there is a program, and I know people that have been in the company for almost 40 years, and they started like this, right? They started with this. It's not an internship program. It's like what they call the graduate program, the graduate training program. And you start, you keep learning, you keep growing, you can change then departments, and it's very well seeing that you change every 3-4 years is not a bad thing to change, or even less, right? So you keep learning and growing. And there are quite a few. So in terms of what they look at, I have to admit that I don't know much because I've never gone through it. But in any company, what you want is to find, so in young people, you don't hire skills because they typically, when you are young, like almost all of you here, you have not developed your skills yet. You are willing to go to a company to help you develop them. So people, and I've never hired a young person for their skills. You hire them for their attitude. It's as simple as that. And it's not easy to find young individuals who are very driven, especially nowadays. I don't know exactly why. It might be because of the pressure, it might be because of the times we're living, but it's easy to stand up from the crowd. You just need to be very awake, you just need to be very driven, and with that you have like 80% of the equation won. The problem is that doesn't stand up in your CV, right?
Yeah,
which is maybe one of the points that you wanted to touch as well. And in CVs, that things get more complicated. So in my case, my own advice is that when I have multiple people that I seem to like to join my team, I really look at how curious they've been and how many things they've tried to build. So for instance, when I was in my previous startup, I had a guy who I loved. He was doing his second year bachelor, right? And he wanted to do an internship with us for a software engineer. And he started the conversation just telling me, Alex, I want to show you something, as direct as that. I have created a machine learning algorithm that can spy you from the other side of the room. And I said, okay, what are you talking about? And he said, yeah, if you download this, or if you go to this website, it will, bless you, it will encrypt your voice from your microphone and send it to somewhere else that I don't remember, and then it's decrypted and I can basically understand what you are talking about. And I said, well, I honestly didn't understand much what he was doing. Then he showed me and it kind of worked, and that was for me good enough because it showed me that the guy wanted to do things and build things, and he was curious. And I asked him why he started with this, and he said, yeah, because I saw it on a TV show. And I said, oh, let's see if it's possible, you know. And I really like him, and then he stayed in the company. He's still in the company. So he became a software engineer, so he did the internship, then we hired him, then he stayed, and he's growing there, right? And this is one example. Another example I can give you, there was a girl who I really loved, Claudia, and in her case, she wanted to be a data scientist or a software engineer. She came for biomedical engineer and had done a master's on AI, but she didn't have much experience with software, right, or with data. But I really love her attitude, and I said, look, we're going to do one thing after the interview. I'm going to send you this problem. This is a problem we have nowadays in the company. How long do you think it could take you to give me some insights on some answer? And she said, let me look at it. In 1 week, I'll get back to you. That's it. Let's do that. No problem at all. I mean, if I found someone that I like in that time, bad luck for her, but I gave her that opportunity. In 3-4 days, she came and she explained me what she's built, and it wasn't perfect, but it was quite good enough, knowing that she had another job, another responsibility, and she was doing this on her own time, right? And I said, really like her, and I really pushed to get her on board, really pushed, right? And then she was like one of the 2 people, apart from the CEO, who was really the must to have in the company, you know? So it's attitude again, and it's the ability to add value to the people, right? And when you are young, that's what you have to prove. That's the only thing. Yeah,
I agree with you. And really summarize, to be a part of any kind of successful team like you should be driven or curious. You should be able to help people to generate new ideas and really brave enough to present it. It looks like boot camp, really, and really some kind of drivers. It could be inside, like, oh, it's interesting. It's really thanks really for this, and for young generation and for young specialists, because in CV you never can show it, but you can show it in any kind of activities. And
there are many ways. If I can build on that, there are many ways to reach out to people. For instance, today There was a guy, I have to reply him, who wrote me on LinkedIn. Like, he's a biomedical engineer or something. He just wrote me like, I would really like to get your thoughts about how could I start sending CVs and getting positions. And I don't know this person. So he sent me a cold message without nothing to lose and a lot to win. If I reply to him and I give him some advice, and maybe we have a 10 minutes conversation on a phone, which is a thing that I do from time to time with random people, maybe he gets something good, right? So don't be shy and don't put barriers in your own life. We always say that don't tell you no yourself to yourself, right? Someone else will tell you, so don't do it yourself. So it's another example. You can always ask people how they arrive where they are, what's their path, if they have any recommendation. You never know.
And really, we are going to the next step. It's really about your personal mission, I think. Because we met with Alex and start conversation in LinkedIn, and really I follow you in LinkedIn and read all of your posts, etc. It's really resonate. And I'm Russian, and usually in our culture we have a lot of burnout situations, and we are really survivors always. And when I read you, yes, I catch you have some system. And really, I know you a few months, and really you changed a lot in this period of time. Tell me your secret. How usually you manage your energy? Because I know how much you work, really. And really your responsibility, a lot of tasks, etc. And small child at the same time. Yeah. And really how it works in your time. What kind of system let you manage your energy?
So it's a very difficult question to answer, but I'd say that what has been a common theme in my life has been always having clarity about what really matters for you in your current situation, right? Because your interest and your goals, and they will change through your life. But if you are very clear about what matters to you right now, you should be able to also have the clarity to put systems or methods to protect that thing that that you're really so worried about it, right? I can give you and this has been fluctuating, right? But I've came to learn because of burnout, because I've been, so to go very, very extreme, I've been going to the hospital with 32 years old thinking I was having a heart attack. So that was the level of stress that I was suffering at one moment of my life. And from that moment, I really learned that I can really work 16 hours a day if needed, but it's not gonna be sustainable in the long term. Yeah. And from there, then you manage to manage your own energy and your own time, right? So right now, things that I've learned through my life, and it's now a trending thing and it's very popular, but how to rest, how to understand when you have your ups and downs, and to keep a minimum amount of sleep. For instance, I'm a person who hates to sleep. If I could stay awake all the day, I would stay awake all the day. I don't see it as a value for me, at least not until many years ago, until I have a kid who didn't allow me to sleep, and then I realized how bad it is. But basically, having good rest, right? Training in the gym, it's as stupid as it sounds, it gives you additional energy that you can then get for everything you want in your life. For instance, today I'm having like almost in total a 4-hour commute, going back and forth home, then working a few hours, then I'll arrive, and then I'll have to do more things and work. Yeah. If you don't have enough energy, that's not gonna help you. So these are two minimal things that you need to keep, right? But then there are some other fundamentals that really depend on your moment in your life. Having a project, having something that drives you, right? That fills your life quite a lot. And sometimes you don't get that from work, sometimes you don't get that from a side project, so you either find it or there is something in your life that you always keep that allows you to have this spark. And then in terms of systems, you need to understand when your energy is low and when you have to stop giving so much into one space and give it to the other space and fluctuating, because at the end of the day you have 100% that you can give, and if you give it everything to one aspect of your life, the rest are gonna suffer. So learning how to navigate all that world is something that I'm still learning. It's not something that I have learned, to be honest, and every week I learn something new. But that's the part of data science that helps me, right? The idea of being able to think of even sprints sometimes, the idea of think of systems, methods, automations. For instance, when I go to the fridge at 11 in the night, not having in front of me a slice of pizza and having maybe some Greek yogurt and some fruits, something along those lines, something that gives you energy and not something that will give you just fat. And this is just one example, putting my phone away as much as I can, don't having notifications on after 9 in the evening, putting like a black and white screen on the cell phone. So many things just for energy management.
Yeah, but I love your topic about you never can manage your time, but you manage your energy in your slot, like natural, your inner schedule, something like this. All of us, we have our own rhythms. Yes. In life, and really, for example, I'm more productive in the morning, and for sure after lunch maybe I need to have sleep a little bit, really a little bit, but in the evening I have second line. Okay, and really sometimes I need to be stopped. Sometimes body, yes, can stop you.
Absolutely true, and it's not a thing that I believe we are fully aware, right?
For sure.
Sometimes we design or we happen to have our lives framed in a way that doesn't align with that energy, and you just don't know. It's like the typical thing that there are people who are not good at waking up early in the morning. They prefer to be a late owl. It really depends, but learning where and when your energy peaks are, and for instance in my case I don't allow meetings to go into those slots as much as I can. I mean, sometimes it's just you cannot force it, but if I can not having any meetings, for instance, between 9:30 and 12, I know that I'll get most of my day done in that period of the day. And from there, then I can fill it in with small tasks and so on.
I always thinking when you write articles.
When? During the night, which is my third pick, to be honest. During the night after dinner is when I
And one more question about personality. You said that curiosity, this is a core value. But if you're too curious and really you are, for example, if I do something really interesting for me, I couldn't stop. And usually I have a few interests, and in the same time I can do 10 different topics about something, and how I should stay focused on. Because when you build your professional career, first of all, you should be really professional in some kind of topic. For example, data, I'm not sure, organizing of data or something like this. And you build and drill this skill. But when I really too deep on this topic, I lose my curiosity, my interest. It became boring, and really, where is some kind of balance between this? Really, your curiosity, interest, and really to be too focused and really to be professional.
It's a difficult question though, because you might be curious from two different angles. You mentioned about skills, right? You want to build more new skills, so you keep learning and learning and learning, and sometimes you just get bored of learning so much, right? And you like depleted your energy. And the other type of curiosity, it's about a specific topic or a project or something that you really want to get solved or learn more about it. I think there are two different things. In the first one, what I would basically say is that you need to be able to remember why are you doing what you're doing. Okay. So there will be some point during your period of learning a new skill that you say, okay, this sucks as hell. And sometimes if you are coding, you will not find the bug during 3 hours, and it's really painful. It's really painful. What you have to do is also to remember why are you doing all this, what is what you expect to get out of it, and why you'd like to keep learning. Let's say data engineering, right? It's one of the most boring things to me, data engineering. I really like the data science side of it. I really like the machine learning and building new algorithms, but data engineering is something I basically don't like. But I have to learn it, because otherwise I was depending on others, and I didn't want to depend on others. And because I want to be independent, I learn it, as simple as that. And then you learn to a minimum level that allows you to move forward. So you don't need to learn to the extreme. But this is for any skill in your life. Yeah. And then regarding curiosity, the problem that we have nowadays is also like this FOMO, right? Like the fear of missing something. fear of missing out, and that also take us in very different directions. What I would say here is that you need to be aware of where your mind is taking you, and if you are starting a project, at least close it. If you find a repetitive pattern that you keep starting and not closing, starting and not closing, you have a problem, and you have to be open about it, and you need to understand why you are not finishing and start to get your hands dirty until the end. I was a little bit like that. I'm very creative and started lots of things, and I finished them, but not to the highest level of excellence in some cases, until I found a couple of situations. I started a startup myself, or I joined another startup on a topic that I was very, very deep about, where I kept digging and digging and digging, right? So at some point you need to decide why you are starting a project and that you should be finishing it.
Yeah, so interesting. And okay, when I think, for example, I talk with students, teenagers, or young students as well, and usually they couldn't finish any kind of task, and it looks like unprofessional behavior. And when we start, for example, first job project for teenagers, and usually one of the biggest painful situation when they do something very hardly with interest and not finished, and really after this disappoint and really unsatisfied, and really this is terrible problem, and really life finished in this moment. It is really always strategy, and unfortunately this kind of behavior, it's like pattern for a lot of people, maybe most of people, and really we need to solve this problem, and really through maybe reflection to understand yourself, maybe awareness and something like this. It's really very skill, and really we need to train it.
We were discussing before, if I build on that, about, you were mentioning about in your life in the past you could go through hardship and become very resilient against hardship. So I believe that this ability to hold on when things get extremely difficult for you in whatever it is, it's something that first you can get trained yourself, and if you have never heard about David Goggins, just go and read his book. He will tell you basically this to a level of extreme that you can imagine. But I believe this is something that you have to also start doing with when you are little. So if you are exposed to hardship, if for instance when you are trying to do some trick in the park with your friends and your parents don't see you succeeding and they go and help you immediately, they are not giving you a big favor, because they are saving you and they are solving a problem for you. So you need to suffer this problem, right? So you need to go through it. You need to be able to really to go through hardship. I think it's one of the most important things that I've done in my life. Go through difficult things, even at the personal or at the work level. And studying physics is one good example of what that brings, because you are extremely frustrated, and it takes you months to start getting into the habit of understanding what's happening in the classroom. I mean, in my case, it took me many months. So going through difficult things help you in that. So I really recommend people to struggle, to just go embark into a project that seems difficult for you. You don't know how to start, you don't know how to end, but you still go and go and go and go. It's the only thing. And there is very little people nowadays who start something and 1 year after they are still doing it.
Yeah.
If you're just
really,
one of these persons,
I agree.
you are among the 1% of the population, right? So it's simple. It's just one day after the other, but it's difficult to
train your commitment, really. It's every day. Okay, very nice. And really, let's do to the final part. It's really time is flying. Really, it's really cool. And about marketing and job market trends, etc. And really, I collected some of slides about numbers, and all of us, we live right now in the situation. Last 5 years, demand for data scientists increased in 250%, and 32% of data scientists have salary around 200,000. And really, it's really sweet target for a lot of people. But at the same time, we have really troubled situation in the market, and especially for young specialists, and 95% really not for young people. And I have found some statistics. 57% of positions, it's like versatile or maybe diverse competences, and only 5% for technical positions. This is demand in the market right now. And one other focus. We have 3 main markets for data scientists: USA, UK, and India. And we are living right now in Europe, in Spain. This is not center of the world in this moment. And just 5% of data scientist position remote. That's mean all of us, we need to think, where should we live? Where should we move? And really, this is true in the market. And my question to you is, and when all of this stuff changing from technical execution or something like this to any kind of business development, business value creation, what we need to do, or maybe to build some new skills, study something new as a data scientist. You told me we are right now in some kind of new revolution. What should we do?
You've touched so many different...
Yeah, I love it.
You've touched too many things, and I don't have the best memory, I have to say. So the first one is just, I want to add a little bit of favor regarding the salaries, right? Because these salaries are very attractive, but these salaries are biased towards the USA, right?
Yeah, for sure,
so
most of them.
$200K a year, this is USA salaries. It's not something that you will find in Europe.
Sometimes 4 times difference, really,
well, and if you are one of these very, very bright people that they go into Meta and now they are paying even like millions, right, and hundreds of millions. So, but it's very extreme. I'd say that you will find salaries here that they will quadruplicate the minimum salary in Spain, for instance. That for a data scientist can be very, very feasible, right? Yeah. Just to get a flavor on that. Then we were discussing about what skills, right, you should be developing in order to adapt yourself to the changes. So the first one is to start thinking about data science as we were thinking until 3-4 years ago, right? So as I was saying before, the data scientist who just handles data and delivers some insights, and even if they do a little bit of machine learning, that's changing. So that's one.
Yeah.
The second one, to me, and most important, is that you need to understand who are you giving value to and what's the value you are adding. Because once you own, typically the value is to the business. And once you own that business mentality, then you are able to go straight into the questions that will maximize your output. And that's very important. Because it's not about how good are you at handling data and creating whatever you want. It's how good that you are conveying your message and delivering value to someone. And I believe that's really, really important. And that tags very well into sales. So every single person should be able to sell something to someone else.
Wow.
So you need to sell your code, you need to sell your report, you need to sell your PPT presentation, you need to sell yourself. You always need to sell what you do to someone. And I believe that that's something, it's like a transversal skill that has to be developed. You really need to learn how you're going to sell your job to someone else. Otherwise, it's very hard to prove your own value. I mean, the typical people that believe that they do very great stuff and they are in the shadows just expecting their work to be recognized by others, they don't go anywhere, right? It's just, it doesn't work like that. So that's another thing. And then, of course, learning how to learn, it's the must. So nowadays, and you are potentially the first generation that will have to recycle themselves every very few years, like maybe 5 years. I remember I have one of my aunts, my uncle, he's a doctor. And I remember when I was very little and he was attending courses and I asked him, okay, why do you go to courses? Because you shouldn't be learning, you're already a doctor. He said, no, but there is new medicines, there is new this, new that, so I need to recycle myself. But maybe it was one every year, one every 5 years. Right now, if we just think of AI, we can stick there. it's really changing at the pace of every few months, and we really don't know what's going to happen in 5 years. No one knows, absolutely no one knows, and who tells you, they are lying. So we will need to learn, including myself, we will need to learn how to learn very quickly. A new thing, you adopt it, you execute. Another new thing, you learn it and you add it into your portfolio. So it's the absolute must, learning how to learn. That's the number one skill that everyone will need to have.
Yeah, this means that we need to turn, like shift our expectation about profession of data science, interesting, about our skills, what should we be able, and really my question about geographic. Yeah, because really this is important. All of us, we live here and we can calculate taxes, we can calculate anything here, and we can compare salaries and any kind of cost. What do you think?
Well, what I think is that in Spain we live fantastically well. So that's the reason why people keep living in Spain. If it wasn't because of that, you would go to Andorra, which you have really here, you would go to Dubai, right? So I guess that with this question, it's always a life decision. I personally wouldn't place it as a work decision, right? Because if it was only because of work, you could go to, I don't know, the Saudi Arabia or some of these countries. They pay extremely well. Maybe you are not especially happy, right? So it really depends on what you want for your life. In my case, I've lived in 4 different countries. I know you've lived in like 9 different countries, right? So we've changed countries, but it might be work related, but your life was also attached to that changes. Like you really wanted to do that for your own life, right? So I wouldn't recommend thinking of, okay, where should I be going to maximize my salary or to get the highest pay, because it's a very, very complicated decision, right? When you move to a new country, if you're alone, it's difficult. I would always recommend it. So, I mean, I think that few of you are from abroad already, so you have already moved. But if not, go and live somewhere else. And that's my number one advice. But I wouldn't do it because of the job. I would do it because of my own opportunities and my life, no? But if I were to choose, for instance, we have a very complicated political situation in the States. It's not an easy country to go and get a visa. It's not very, very easy, and they are putting things very complicated. And that's, for instance, the UK in the past for Europeans was very easy as well. Now with the Brexit, it's difficult, which is creating opportunities.
And when we calculate taxes in London and really and the UK as well, it's not so.
No, it's not the lowest one. And regarding remote work, definitely work from home has that. It's past.
And again about soft skills and communicative skills when you work in a remote team.
It's very difficult. So for instance, when I had my team in Porto and I was having a team of 15 people, 18 people from Barcelona. It's not always easy because you don't transmit your energy in the same way you do when you are in a room. They can't just go and ping you in 1 second, sit next to you. The dynamics are not the same, right? So if that's a very good point too. So if you really want to just go remotely from home, you really need to become a freelancer, for the good and for the bad. And becoming a freelancer is extremely complicated because it means that you have to get your own clients, so you have to learn how to sell. You have to find your way to live, and it's absolutely not easy. There are plenty of opportunities, but it's not easy, and then you have to stand out at a level that you don't have to in other settings, right?
Yeah, it's interesting, and really that's why a lot of companies really they have remote but some kind of offices in different countries. In Perplexity, for example, we work with them, and really in different countries they have their own centers because they prefer to work face to face, and really they prefer to develop team and really see energy, etc. It's really interesting, and really because most of us we have some kind of wrong expectation about remote job. And really, a lot of guys come to Spain to work remote from here, less taxes, less cost, etc., and work for American companies. But American companies always they change. They are changing right now some kind of policy, Yes, and really, visa process, I agree with you.
No,
Yeah,
and,
it's
and
really-
at the end of the day, so the special thing about humans is the community. So the moment in history where humans started to evolve and grow was the moment where we had like tribes, each of them with their own task. We were looking after each other. I mean, it's very obvious, but it's how it was. And now changing that towards a method where we basically live isolated when we are working from home, 8 hours isolated, 10 hours isolated, even if you speak with someone or you have a virtual coffee, then you are most of the day texting with your cell phone to your friends. You don't even meet them most times.
And any kind of education, implementation, innovation, always this is talking with people. It's always communication. Yeah, I agree with you. And can I ask you my lovely question about how we can hack some system with artificial intelligence, any kind of robots or etc. Right now, we have, all of us, we have the same problem. All of this process automatically with application, your CV, etc. And how we can win this war. And really, nobody can go inside of this algorithms. How it works.
It's been for many years that we were discussing about this earlier, right? That so the space of using not AI but even semantic search or keywords for job application has been around for many years, I remember. And it's really complicated because there is not even a single answer because every company are going to use even their own technology, right? So now there is a very hot topic that maybe I go a little bit tangential, but about how SEO is changing, right? SEO. So because SEO, it's basically the ability for machines to learn content from websites, and what the smart people are doing is that they are changing the way they write to mimic the way the LLMs write, so that LLMs will parse the text in a more efficient manner. And they are positioning their websites. There was an experiment a couple of weeks ago or 3. There was a person who got like ranked #1 for I don't know exactly what random website for many days on Google, just because he cracked a specific loophole in the LLMs and they were always parsing the website as the #1, right? So I guess that at some point we'll learn how to do that efficiently for CVs, for our even LinkedIn posts, for our Instagram posts, so we appear more in the feeds, right? So I remember, I don't know if you were on Instagram at the time, that you had to post at 8 p.m. because then you appear in the feed where people were going before dinner and they could get your message. That changed very rapidly. And now the algorithm is different and the algorithm is changing constantly, right? And we adapt to it. So we'll have to learn how to, and it's very sad to be honest, but we'll have to learn how to write so this type of systems efficiently parse our text. And this applies to jobs application, and this applies to everything, how to structure information, how to write, and I think it's a work in progress. I think it's a work in progress, but I think you can do experiments. You can basically try to write things on Instagram or LinkedIn and see how they are being presented to the rest of your community, and from there you learn how to write.
I like these experiments always. And really, for example, we have a lot of joint friends because really we post and repost each other, something like this. And after this system, engage, really give me some new people with high level. And really, it's really interesting, and really always, it's really interesting how to hack the system, really. And for young specialists, I should just ask a little bit, should we write some summary about profession of data scientist? It's more about impact for the business. It's more about, I'm not sure, I'm a data analyst with this kind of experience, etc. Is it still important? And what should we do? What should you write on this?
So let's say if we pass the machine and it goes to a human, what I would always like to see is first, what motivates you? Second, the so what. So you've worked here, but so what? What was the value that you developed? Can you tell me a little bit about what did you do in that company? Don't tell me just, I was a data scientist developing, I don't know, dashboard and insights for this specific product. No, so tell me how that work you did impacted your colleagues, your manager, or your business. I think that's a must, right? Yeah. Being able to tell why it mattered. So in every piece of work that you do, you should have a background. It's like everything in life, right? You should have a background, what you did, and what was the impact. That in everywhere. And I think that's very appealing because that allows me to understand that allows us to understand very easily where you're coming from, what's the value you're adding, what's also your focus. So you're always thinking of delivering value, right? So that's very good. You will be always thinking of that. If you don't have that experience, you can talk about your side projects. If you don't have experience, you need side projects. You need to participate in a hackathon. You need to prove that you can build things. You can have your own portfolio, your website. You need to have something that you can explain me about your skills. Otherwise, I won't be able to understand why I should hire you from the paper, even before we have a call, right?
Yeah. And always number two, portfolio for sure. And first of all, your goals, what you really want to do, especially in this company. And I always said for students, really never looking just for a job, for salary. It would be burnout by 100% very fast. But always know your goals, and secondary, build your skill set, and your portfolio professional. It would be your resume, your credo. Yes, professional. Yes, very nice. And one of question from Indian fan. Really, I have some community in Bangalore as well, and really he asked me, everything is changing, and some kind of joint question as well. And really, what is your prognosis about 3 years changing? I know that's really complicated. And what kind of skills we need to develop, and we need to show it, like critical skill set for data scientists for 3 years, for next 3 years. What do you think about this? This is Indian question. They have much more competitive.
Yeah, it's and they are absolutely brilliant. I have to say that because they are very competitive. What we'll need to develop from a data science perspective in 3 years.
In 3 years.
So what certainly is that AI is going to be evolving, right, at the fastest pace. So you should be just not doing data science. You have to start doing a little bit of software engineering, and software engineering is basically be able to connect all the different LLMs endpoints with your product that you are building. Yeah. So you need to be able to add that flavor. Mm-hmm. So because in the past there was a very big division between software engineering, data science, data engineering, and machine learning, and the machine learning operations. They could allow themselves to be isolated, and as I was saying before, that's changed. So 100%, not only learning how to code, but learning how to become a little bit of a software engineer. That's a must. And use all these elements because we'll need it, right? If you can start thinking how you can automate parts of your process, that's also be very good. And I know that most data scientists will want to automate, but sometimes it's not obvious. So how you can start leveraging agents to automate your workflow, and that might make your life simpler. So starting to play around with that and get involved with AI. I don't think that data science is going to be an isolated field anymore. So it's going to be AI, and people are thinking of AI. AI, it's eating everything, all the cake. So you need to start using AI, but at the same time keeping your critical skills in how to handle data and how to analyze data, because that's something that not everyone can do. So right now we have a confluence of software engineers who can call themselves AI engineers, but basically they are using OpenAI or Perplexity or whatsoever endpoints, APIs. So that's it's just software, it's no AI at all. Maybe they know how to fine tune a prompt, but that's not AI. They are not building models. So it's easier for you to arrive to that point than for them to arrive to the data science point, because the data science requires math, algebra, calculus. It requires symbolic programming sometimes, so it's much difficult. So if you can eat a little bit of that cake, you're going to have much more chances, because it's going to be much more attractive. And what you were saying before about being interdisciplinary, right? Yeah. So if you are a data scientist who knows how to build products, who knows about AI, who can prove all that, that's really gonna be a key in your career. So I really don't know what's gonna happen in 3 years. Maybe we already have artificial general intelligence. I just don't know. But if I were to keep building my own skills, which is a thing that I honestly still do, I would just learn how to do that.
Can I ask you, just imagine that you can start right now de nuevo, really, your career, and you are, for example, 25 years, 22 years old boy. What you would like to change, maybe to do different than you did it?
If I were to start sooner. So one thing that I did not do well enough was getting involved in the real world sooner. So I waited until I was finishing my bachelor, 22 years old, to start being exposed with science, to start, in my case it was science, right? But to start really doing things. But I believe that young generations are already doing that. So the fact of they have always these side hustles, these mini projects that they try to do. No, I feel that there are more people with that mentality, but I would change that. I would have that mindset owned much earlier in my career. Since I started, I would always have this side thing that I want to develop, learn, grow, investigate on my own, which is a thing that I didn't do. Maybe I didn't have the capacity. I just don't even remember. But that's a very useful thing, because then you end your studies, whatever they are. They don't even have to be formal university, but you end your training phase at 20 little years old, and you will have a portfolio of things you've done and built, which is very valuable if you didn't have the chance to go into an internship or something like that.
Just imagine in Europe, 45% guys really after bachelor degree, they have 2 master degree. They start their own career only 27, 30 years old. That's really too late. Yeah, it's really, and that's why they don't have normal level of confidence for this age. And really, and a lot of parents, and we have some parents here, hello, and really we are thinking how we can develop and grow our kids for don't spend money until 30 years, maybe 40 years old. It's terrible. But 78% Spanish people unfortunately live with parents until 35 years because they couldn't get money.
It's a very difficult case in Spain, I would say, because also the real estate market it's a jungle. It's very hard to even rent a flat. It's almost impossible in Barcelona. There are
they have different level.
Well, it's very difficult right now.
Salary less than average price for renting.
Everything. I think it's a very complicated market. But at the same time, there are people who do it, so there must be ways to get in there.
My lovely final question about billboard. Just imagine you can get some message for everybody data scientist, young generation, 12 years old, 15 years old, etc. Really, they are going to start their own career and their own life. What you would wish them?
It's not going to be a technical thing at all. Just be a good human being, to be honest, and be a better version of yourself than you were before. If you just do that on a single day basis, your life is gonna just go very well. That's the only thing I could tell. I would tell it to my kids. I tell it to myself. Just be a good person and be better than yesterday.
Thank you so much. Really. It was my content, and if you have any questions, maybe I forget some questions, or maybe you are just creating something, ask. Time for you. Thank you. Do we have some question? Oh, yes. I see you.
Thank you for the talk. You're in the medicine industry with AstraZeneca, and I'm wondering, the word was never mentioned, but I extracted passion from what you said. The passion is really important because that's where curiosity and energy comes from, I think. So where would you say the passion is in your work? Is it in the actual technical work? Is it in the interaction with the humans? Is it in the result and the impact that you guys have on the world? Or is it?
In my case, it's on the later stage, it's on the patients. So,
Okay.
to give you an example, there are some of the technologies we've been supporting, they have been used to basically screen millions of patients all over the world. So for me, the idea that there is a single person in Africa that is benefiting from what we do, that's absolutely amazing. And people might think of the pharma industry as just a business and we deal with the health of people, but we really want to make drugs that make other people's lives. So that's a thing. And the second one is that I really find value in helping others. And if that is in my team and I find a way to keep adding value to the life of my own people around me at work, I really feel a lot of joy.
So interesting how people connect each other, yeah? Funny. You have the same values.
Mm-hmm.
Funny. Because really Benjamin also, really we have some project
No, that's
together.
why I'm asking.
Yeah, yeah.
Because in data science, I often find it difficult to find passion in the purely technical part.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
You can be passionate about many different things, of course. You can be passionate, for instance, about doing the best work that no one else can do. I remember when I was doing my PhD, I'm very competitive, very, very competitive. So if I could do the best thing that no one else can do, I also am very passionate. I'm also very passionate about owning things. So if you tell me, Alex, this is your responsibility, you have to deliver this, I become naturally very involved because I know that's on my hands, and when I know something is on my hands, it's going to happen. And there are ways to find that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Cora, you had a question also.
Hello,
Hi,
nice to meet you.
me too.
Thank you very much for this talk and for sharing your experience. I think everyone here appreciates that. And I had the question about AstraZeneca,
Mm-hmm.
maybe culture. I just scrolled the website, and I figured that the company pays a lot of attention to R&D research.
Mm-hmm.
And I even found some topic that was new to me, and some people even joke about it. It's a graph neural network.
Yeah.
Sorry, you started that. But I mean that it's a new concept, and
Graph neural nets.
at least one of my AI enthusiasts in Harborspace, he said that it might be not a new concept, but it's becoming more or less popular right now.
They have been graph neural networks. They have been in the field for quite a few years. But going back to your question, so AstraZeneca is, I was saying, and I really believe it, it's potentially the most innovative company in the world from the pharma industry. We do really deep science. So we might have teams who are developing their own transformers. No, I'm talking not just taking what is out there, developing from scratch, right? So
I see. But my point is,
yes.
it's good to have that research, but how smooth is the process of integration that R&D stuff to the daily workflows for doing the real product stuff in AstraZeneca?
So you have different ways of developing value, right? As I was saying. So you might have some people who are delivering value directly to the clinicians, and you find better ways to interact with the clinicians. You might have people who are developing the drugs in a manufacturing site, but we also have to find ways to develop the new drugs, and that comes mostly with AI. In many cases, we have to investigate why new proteins might affect something in your body positively, right? We have to understand how, I don't know, a clinical trial might be more efficient by using some sort of new workflows that are based on AI for patient engagement or for patient processing. So at the end of the day, you will find AI everywhere. In some cases, it's more hardcore in the terms of R&D, but that always has the goal of getting an outcome that will impact the patient's life. So we always put patients first. So if we are doing this transformer that I was mentioning to you, it's not for the sake of it, it's not for publishing a paper, it's because we believe that maybe we can find a new way of discovering proteins.
I see.
You know?
And I have a small quick question, sorry.
Sure.
Well, you're also coming from the science, and what
For
would you
physics,
say?
like you, physics also. Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
I'm not a physicist, was
No.
just doing some data
Yeah.
So the point is, do you believe that in industries like AstraZeneca, R&D stuff and creating some new ideas is more or less like a good place, even better than just making research in the laboratory?
I think it's a different thing. So the laboratories in a university, they tend to be more, they allow themselves to be more bold. They are not committed to business outcomes, while in a company you will always be committed to business outcomes, right? And if you are in the pharma industry, that's what's being measured. But there are other companies that maybe they are not in the pharma, that they are very bold about building AI and doing R&D, right? If you think of the Googles of the world, OpenAI, if you think of other small labs that they are just proof of concept of how you can develop things, you can always find that space. But if you are in industry, you always need to add some value to the business. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in industry, you would be in academia, I would say. But that's not a bad thing. I wouldn't take it as a bad thing. Okay, so the first question about the type of things we do in commercial, they are mostly related, as I was saying, to improve the way we interact with clinicians and with patients, and we deliver value ultimately to the patients. This comes in most cases in the form of digital health technologies, as I was saying before, right? And most of the work we do is around how we can help even the work that has been created by others, like startups, to deploy their technology into the market. And what we do is that we basically bridge all the gaps that there exist in the system for a company that has developed a technology for detecting lung cancer from an X-ray image, go into a clinical setting in Colombia, because that's not obvious and not easy, right? So if you are a company who have developed this in India and you want to go to Colombia, how you do it? You just don't know where to start, but we do, because we have sites everywhere and we've done that project in other places. So that's one of the things that we do. So it's not so much development of AI, it's also about how we can deploy AI safely, right? So that's most of the work we are doing. We also do a lot of patient engagement. We also do a lot of data analytics, of course. But in terms of value that we ultimately add, that is what I could tell you. Now, going to your second question, if I'm blunt, don't be strategic. Because right now, what is what you're missing? Are you missing a path or are you missing experience? Mostly. I don't know your case, but when you are starting and you don't have a job, you're missing experience. Once you have the experience, then you can decide where to go. Because if I don't start with something to sell in my next job, how do I start, right? So I think that the biggest problem right now, and when you are starting, and I also suffer from that, is getting the first job done. And to me, I would just go crazy to get a job that allows me to develop skills and gives me some background and gives me some proof of delivery, that I can deliver and I'm a very efficient and good professional. That would be my preference. Now, if you want to think of fields, you can try to think of, okay, I prefer the bio space, and the bio space can englobe R&D and healthcare and maybe pharma and maybe something else. If you believe that you prefer, I don't know, like the telecommunication engineering field for whatever reason, the aerospace, you try to go into companies that could have projects into that. And to me, one of the, maybe this is controversial advice or advice that people won't tell you, but I put going to a consulting firm very likely. So people will tell you, yeah, you will burn out, you will work a lot. Yeah, but that's what you have to do, not burning out, but yes, working a lot when you don't have the experience. If you are in a consulting firm, it's very likely that
different areas.
Exactly. In 3 years, you've worked in 3 different companies. Very likely. So you will learn a lot. And then you decide where to go. You know, so that's, I would really go for experience rather than be strategic. And once you have the experience, you can just try whatever you want. So even in my own life, if I can give you some example, I don't have a huge strategy, to be honest, of where I'm going. I know that I like the healthcare space very much, but if I find an opportunity that is appealing to me and I see the value that I can add, I just jump in. So maybe I could be smarter and tell you that I'm super strategic, but it's not the truth. The truth is that if I see a project that that matters to me, I go with it.
Yeah, interesting. It's very good approach. Yeah. I'm so sorry. Yes, Katya. Yeah.
Hi, thanks a lot for sharing.
Thank you.
Well, just out of curiosity, how do you think which team would build a high quality model? A team with big brains or a team with a big data set? And again, I'm just curious, how do you guys in AstraZeneca approach data production for your projects, like crowdsourcing or automation or just naturally appearing data that comes from the R&D guys and so on?
So you have multiple questions here. So the first one, it's about
We are Russians.
what could win, data
Yeah.
or creativity, let's say, no, or brain power. If you don't have good data, you will never be able to build a model. That's to start with. So you really need that. Now, if you want to transform the world, you don't only need the data, but you need the, as you were saying, the big brains, right? But the data is the fundamentals. And what we are seeing nowadays with AI, the biggest problem that AI is bringing is that data is so fragmented at the enterprise level that we just don't know how to use AI in a really efficient way. So if all of us were in the same team, you would have a spreadsheet about something, and you would have the same information in a Word document, and maybe someone else is smart enough that they build their own dashboard and they have their own database. And now someone comes and says, yeah, we are going to apply AI here, and we are going to ingest all this data. We are going to create a rack that we are going to have a chatbot to ask all the questions we want about the data. And you are expecting that application to read your Excel, your PDF, your database. It's just impossible. So the first problem is data fragmentation and data quality. So data, it's right now the biggest constraint to deploy AI. And the second question was?
How do you guys in AstraZeneca approach data production, like crowdsourcing or automation?
When you say data production, what do you mean exactly
data
with it?
labeling. I mean, how do you prepare your data sets? I mean, for example, you have to build a model that segments mice going around in a cage. Do you guys have some specialists that label the videos of mice that come on the screen, or I don't know? What is your approach usually, if it's not an NDA?
No, so I really don't know how our teams are doing that, but I can tell you what the state of the art allows you to do. So right now, for instance, for segmentation of the brain, there are already like YOLO type of technologies that allow you to have different areas of brains of specific animal models, for sure, like the fruit fly is one of them, mice is another one, that automatically segments things. But it's a huge problem, and data labeling is something that it's still happening. And one of the big issues here that we don't see is that behind OpenAI, there is a huge team that is just handling data, labeling data, and basically reviewing data. So they are paying people all over the world to do that for them, right? So in science and technology, what you might very likely find is that you have teams that they are doing the R&D and they are labeling themselves if the problem is hard enough. If it's not hard enough, they might already use some AI, typically machine learning, to do this. But I really don't know the specific case in our teams because I'm not that close to them.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you for the talk. Going back to career advices, so you said that people now need to sell themselves or their knowledge. For data scientists, is this specifically important? Like, what's the role of the personal brand? As in, is it enough for us to hack the AI and use right keywords in our CV? Or we need to go and put our LinkedIn pages on steroids, create a YouTube channel of like a data scientist, day-to-day, I don't know, whatever. Or our skills speak for ourselves and we just need to follow, you know, a particular template for our CVs to prove our value.
I was referring more in how do you sell the work you do, right? And how you sell the value
When you're already on the interview.
you are creating. For instance, when you are already on the interview. But if you don't have the chance to get those interviews, you need to find a way to take the attraction of the people. So do whatever it takes. So if you want to start a YouTube channel, and you send me a link to the YouTube channel and saying, yeah, I teach data science on this YouTube channel, I will very likely watch it and say, okay, it's interesting. At least she can talk about things. She can express herself well. Let's give it a shot. So when you don't have the experience, you need to really go on top of the rest of the crowd and you do whatever it takes. Sometimes you work for free. I mean, that's something that I've done. I don't recommend it, of course. But when you don't have the experience, in my case, it's very typical in science, right? You go to a lab and say, yeah, I want to work with you. I'll do whatever. And you just start doing random things for them and with them, and you keep learning. And in my case, I did it for free. Of course, I did it for free. And it got me some experience. It got people to know me and like me. And from there, I got opportunities. I'm not saying, disclaimer, I'm not saying work for free.
But it's always about relationship. It's always period of time. It's really not quickly. It's really not 100 application, and really you expect any kind of results. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like this. Always strategy, and always choose correctly what company is suitable for you. One case, if it's possible, Perplexity. They are looking for people, data scientists, with experience, 3-5 years, etc. They can watch, they can choose guys younger, less experienced, but you should be suitable and you should be fit on their value. Value is speed of thinking, and how fast you can create and develop and really present your results. This is always practice. And any kind of hackathon, guys, really, 2 days, you can build anything for 2 days. And really, bless you, really, I'm not lying, really, and always we can put all of this information, all of these results during very, very short period of time. It's training. You need to train it. How to do, how to present, how to develop it, etc. This is process. It's a circle always. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is job.
And now that you mentioned like the 3-5 years of experience versus 1 or 2, there is something we don't understand, that you always have a leverage, right? If I have 5 years of experience and you have none, I'll have the experience. I will have gone through some stuff, and I'll be able to talk about that stuff. When I see a problem, I identify and I solve it quicker than you. Now, your leverage is that you very likely, because you have 5 years, statistically speaking, less than me, you have the time and the energy to overwork me, right? So I cannot work, for instance, faster, right now, I can't work 14 hours. I have other commitments. Yeah. And you also keep losing energy, right, as you grow. But if you are 20-something, you don't have so many responsibilities in general, you can overwork me. You can work more than me. Maybe you are not so efficient, but, you might play that as the balance, and you can always offer something different. Maybe you offer a new perspective, like I've been always working in pharma, which is not the case, but I'm so biased to this field. But you come with a new brain that you are bringing new thoughts. So you can always bring something new into the table that others don't have, and you need to find what that is and exploit it.
Uniqueness, yeah.
I understand that doesn't open the door for the interview. So in that case, what you can do is be very crowd and try to catch the attention of people. And that doesn't mean to be a social animal on the social media. It means that maybe you have a project and you create a very good website where you show that project. For instance, a colleague of mine, the other day we were talking, and she created something amazing. So she created like a knowledge graph of all the philosophy in the history. She likes philosophy, and she was missing programming a little bit and handling data and all this, and she created that, and she created a website. I'm not a philosopher type of person, but I went into it and I looked at it, and it was interesting and it was useful, because then it was also pulling resources from LLMs that have all the information. It was a side project she created. She already had a job. She was curious about it and she did it. And I think it's very worth to share with the world.
And very good additional information about some kind of thinking. Publicity. We should be visible. It is really a very important question, because a lot of scientists, technical guys, are completely close, really, and not ready to stand out. We need to do this. This is a skill.
And it's not only a skill, it's a skill that is worth developing. It's not yours, because it gets you out of your comfort zone. So for instance, in my case, to be honest, writing in social media is not my thing. If you see my my Instagram, I have maybe 10 publications. Since 10 years I don't publish anything on, I don't know, 10, but 5, 8. I don't like social media per se, but I realized, to be honest, that building your personal brand is important. And because I realized about that, I decided to do the effort of get out of my comfort zone and do something that I don't especially like, at least not at the beginning, but now I enjoy more. And get on with it. And I decided to post one post every single day for a few months, and I did it. And now I'm changing the strategy because I think that it's not just about the quantity, it's about the quality. But I got exposed into something that I didn't like.
Yeah. It's one of the best training and really consistent. You do this. That's all. Yeah. And oh yes, Ola. Yeah. And we have some moments really. If you have any questions, Roman, привет. Yes, Roman. What's really?
Yeah, I would like to ask you about contests. So you mentioned hackathons, but what about students who take part in contests? And I think for the big tech, of course, it has a great impact if you win the contests. You can build your career. But it's for a few people, but for others, do you have any experience working with such contesters? I have some experience.
At the end of the day, they are going to be hackathon type of.
I think hackathon is more about 2-3 days working on a small project, but as let's say about Kaggle or math competitions or programming competitions like ACM, ICPC or something like that. Do you have any experience?
Not at that level, I have to say, but for instance, now I'm mentoring in a program that it's called AI for All. It's organized by the Catalan environment in different universities, and it's an innovation program, so you don't need to have experience. We have people that are from university, and basically the way it works is that you go there and they give you first some different pieces of training about business, about innovation, and then about AI, because it's AI based. And then what they do is that they create ideas. Some people have their own ideas, but in most cases they don't, and teams are formed like you would have in some of these innovation
like
programs, right? And at the end of the day, they have to develop a project for 2-3 months, and then they present it at the end, right? Which is, it's a contest, but it's slow pace, but you learn a lot, and then you have to interact with people, not only from a different from a different field, but also different age, because we have teams that are 20-something and then 50 years old, because there are people who wanted to learn about AI. So this is another example of spaces where students can go. And for instance, I know that today there is a synchrotron, not that far from here. You know, a synchrotron is a particle accelerator. It's in Cerdanyola del Vallès. And they are hosting a hackathon during these 2 days that it's open to everyone.
Yeah.
So there are many different spaces, I would say,
for sure,
to get this exposure and training. I don't have experience myself with Kaggle. I don't have experience myself with these other competitions.
But what about hiring such students and junior researchers?
Hiring?
Hiring them.
Hiring, yeah. Do you have an experience of hiring such students?
When they are in the university, you generally don't hire people until they finish.
Okay, maybe junior developers who have this successful experience.
And even if they are not successful, if they are able to explain me a story about why they went there and what they built and why they enjoyed it, and even if they don't have to win, right? I mean, you only win once. So as long as they are able to explain a story and they show that they can deliver and add value, I think that's what they need. And I give you a couple of examples of people that we've hired in the past where they were basically coming from nowhere, but they proved they can deliver. So that's everything we need.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really, it was really insightful conversation. Thank you so much for your support and for your readiness.
Thank you for organizing this.
Thank you. If you have any questions, you can ask really personally. And really, thank you so much for your time, attention, really engagement. Really, Andrei, yes, thank you.
Thank you all.
Yeah.